Okay, if statements continued, there's basically three types. We have the simple, we've compound, and the monster. It's here. Well, no, it's not actually called a monster. It's called a nested if. I help if I could spell. But although officially called nested if, I think the best way to think of it is as a monster if. It can have 250 ifs statements. Okay, so let's break it down. Okay, as if by magic, we've typed up a couple of examples. So the first one is a simple one. A teacher wants to keep track of class results of a student. If they pass, if they get 40 or more. So a couple of things we need to think of. What's the test? Okay, so we're testing if greater than 40. What happens if it's correct, i.e. more than 40? What do we want to happen? They don't tell us, so we're just going to put up a message saying pass. What happens if the test is not correct? Again, they don't tell us, so we're just going to put 0. Okay, so let's take a break for a sec. Okay, so armed with this logic, we're going to hop to our spreadsheet. Oh, look at that. And we want to apply the syntax. So it's equals if bracket. What's the test? Well, the test is if D3 greater than 40, comma. What do we want to happen if it's true? We want to see the word pass, another comma, and another bracket. And what do we want to see if it's not true? Well, we just want to see a 0. We close our bracket again, and if I press enter, lo and behold, I get the pass mark. Why? Because this is bigger than 40. If I copy this down, I should get a 0, because this is not true if the test is 40. And again, if I copy this down. Okay. So compound if is a little trickier. This time they're asking for two things. So the teacher wants to keep track of maths and English scores. So again, we've two conditions. We've two tests. So this time we've test 1, which is maths greater than 40, and however this time we have test 2, which is English greater than 40. What happens when it's true? When both are correct, they get an A plus, and if one or the other, one or the other is not correct. They get a reset. Okay. Okay, so this is a little trickier. So let's hop to our spreadsheet. We have our two results. The if statement again starts with an equals. It's an if. We start with a bracket. Except this time we're activating an and, because we want if and maths and English. So now we're going if D3 greater than 40, comma, test 2, which is E3 greater than 40, close my brackets, give myself a comma. What happens if it's true? I get a plus, comma. What happens when it's not true? I get a reset. Close my brackets, press enter. So this guy gets an A. These are wrong, so he gets a reset, and an A. Okay, so let's look at the nested if statements, or a monster if statement. If we read the question, students get an A if marked between 80 to 100, a B if 65 to 79, C if 50 to 64, and a P for pass between 40 and 49. Otherwise they fail. So first we have to try and figure out what our tests are. So, well, our first test is, so test 1 is greater than 80, okay, so that's fair enough. The computer will automatically do 80 to 100, it just can do that. And then if we look, actually there's a test 2, and that's, well, actually we want to do greater than 65. Oh, hang on, now there's a test 3, so that means it has to be a monster, and that's greater than 50. And then, oh my god, there's a test 4, and that's greater than 40. So that's our logic. These are the tests. We've 4 tests that we've to build in. What happens? Well, the computer, if it's bigger than 80, if something's bigger than 80, it knows it has to be smaller. So what happens when it's true? Well, they get the corresponding mark. So for test 1, I want to get an A. For test 2, I want to see B. For test 3, I want to see a C. And for test 4, I want to see P. And otherwise, I want to see fail. So that's our logic, and now let's see how we do it on a spreadsheet. Okay, so let's do our if statement from the start. Well, we know we have 4 tests, so we're going to start equals if. So it's a monster if, so we have to do each test separately, and we always start with the biggest one. So we want to do E3, and what's the biggest test? Well, greater than 80, comma. And what happens when it's true? Well, when it's true, I want to see an A. Whoops, it must have inverted commas. Now we start another if, comma. If, again, this is a monster if. What's the second check? Well, it's D3 greater than 65, I think, isn't it? Comma, what happens when that's true? Well, we want to see a B. Monster if again, if, comma, D3 was greater than 50, because I want to see a C. So, whoops. Comma, and then this is the last if. If D3 greater than 40, what happens when I want to see it? I want to see a P for pass, and what happens when, oh sugar, sorry, we are going. Just trying to put in my brackets. And because this is the last if, I finish with my fail, or what happens when I don't see it. And basically what happens is I want to see the word fail. Close my inverted commas. And now I have to close my brackets. See the way the bracket is jumping? So this guy here should highlight now when I put in another closing bracket. And that's it. And this guy here will close now, or light up when I close another closing bracket. And you might actually see this fella do the same. Oops. Okay, so you have to watch out for that. It needs 4 closing brackets. We always start with the highest and work down. And only on the final if does it look like an if statement. That's it. Press enter. Okay, so this guy's a pass. What's this guy? Ooh, he's a fail. What's this guy? Ooh, he's a B. And actually, I'm feeling generous. This guy gets 86. And what does he get? Well, he gets an A. This guy has resat his exam and now has got 45 and he gets a pass. Yeah, we'll put him back to 30. Okay, so let's go back to our text. Just before I finish off, I've added some improvement syntax just to again show you a simple if statement. The and ors, again, just another example of it, and we'll add some now more for the file. Okay, hope this helps. Thanks. Okay, so again, we're just looking at the syntax. You always start with the biggest test number, work backwards. So basically the computer is able to check if it's bigger than 80. Actually, interesting, one of the smarter ones of you going, whoa, what happens if I put in 110? Well, this is what we would call a validation error. Marks are generally out of 100%. We can't have 110%, but that happens sometimes. We might press the keyboard by mistake. As it turns out, I think we'll still get an A. Later on, I'll show you how to fix that. Basically, we can put in a validation rule that'll say, hang on, you've made a mistake if you put in a number bigger than that. But we're not dealing with that at the moment. So there's a quick example of the syntax. Remember, this is a generalized example, so I've made a couple of mistakes. Or the words like this should have inverted commas if this was a real formula being entered into Excel. And then test 1 would be replaced obviously with something like B3 or thereabouts. But again, this is really just used as a demonstration to try